A very warm welcome, everyone, and good evening to all of you. Welcome to our third webinar in the lockdown learning series by Arista. Just to give you a brief introduction about Arista School of Finesse. It is a training firm based here in Pune, and we are involved in the training field. We conduct trainings for corporates and for individuals in soft skills, grooming, and communication skills. We also do motivational speaking and leadership and business coaching. And over the last 7 years of operations, we have run several programs for professionals, ladies, and for young children and teenagers. Dr. Bhushan Shukla, who has gladly agreed to join us this evening, is a very dear friend. I've known him for the last, I think, more than 20 years now, and one of the most renowned psychiatrists we have in Pune. He has also been visiting faculty with us in Arista and has conducted many programs for us, for corporates and for children. So, Doc, once again, warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Chirag.
Allow me to give Dr. Shukla's illustrious introduction. He's a child and adolescent psychiatrist. He has trained in psychiatry in India and in the United Kingdom. Since the year 2000, he has worked to prevent child sex abuse. Dr. Shukla's training program of No Go Tell in prevention of abuse was featured in Amir Khan's show Satyameva Jayate, and it has also been adopted by various NGOs and government agencies. He's always been a relentless advocate of mental health as an important component of overall well-being. He works with various schools and colleges, the family court, and of course the juvenile justice system. In addition to his private practice, Dr. Shukla also conducts parenting workshops. So having said that, Doc, I'll hand over the session to you. And just to give you a idea, we're going to have a lot of questions coming in. As I can see, they've already sort of lined up here on the right in the chat box. So I will pose those questions to you as we progress. But I think for the first 10-15 minutes, let's all, everyone's keen to listen to you. So I'll allow you to take the session ahead, please.
Sure. Thank you, Chirag. And hi everyone. It's a lovely bright afternoon that we can't enjoy by going out, but we just have to look out of the window for that. And I hope you all are using that opportunity of a quiet moment of having a cup of tea in your hand and looking out of the window. Very rarely you will get that ever in your life again on a weekday. So we're already into lockdown 3. So whether we like it or not, this is where we are, and this is how we're going to be for at least 2 more weeks, if not more. One of the difficult questions that parents have been posing right from the beginning of lockdown is, what do we do with children's time? How do we keep them engaged? And that also seems to be the commonest question out here. So first, let's talk about children who are regular children, the middle part of the normal curve. And then we will also talk about children who have some special needs. Now, the special need can be in 2 ways. One is they have a disability or a difficulty which requires special attention, and who have some extra ability, exceptional ability, and they are used to their coaching and a lot of other things which are unfortunately are not available at this point of time. Like children are sportsmen and they do a lot of other things. So let's talk about the middle of the normal curve right now. And let me make a contrarian statement right in the beginning where we are, is that somehow we all are told again and again that it is parental responsibility to make sure that children are meaningfully engaged all the time. And that is how typically we arrange their day, even weekends, where they go from one school to another tuition and their hobby classes and all sorts of things where children are not actually given any free time at all. Because somehow we are told that children have a lot of energy and it needs to be invested. And if you don't invest this energy into what is typically called as the constructive stuff, then the energy will turn onto itself and children will become disruptive, hyperactive, and whatnot. And the entire generation of parents has been brought up on this care. But as a student and a practitioner of child psychology, let me tell you the reality of neurobiology there. That, sorry to tell you, but you are being fooled. Children do not need parental attention all the time. In fact, till just a generation ago, children were pretty much managing their time all on their own without any adult supervision at all. Children did not need any telling from parents or grandparents to do stuff. They attended their school and they pretty much spent the rest of the day either helping the seniors in the family or doing things on their own with other children. And that is what how we remember our childhood as well, and that was a fairly good part. So modern children have unfortunately lost that kind of freedom. Here you have an opportunity to let them go back to that state of self-dependence for entertainment. Somehow we have become so intrusive in our children's lives that we are hovering over them all the time, constantly trying to make sure that they are using their time in a constructive way. And when an Indian parent says that we want them to be constructively engaged, what they mean is that the child should be using that time to learn something or to practice something. So the concept is slightly old actually. It comes from industrial era, where we had big machines and like factories, these machines had to be engaged all the time. And because your output depended on that, and it was very important to keep those machines in production all the time, in production mode. And that is what we are doing to children as well. And that is actually seriously harmful for children. We know that in long run, children who can think well, children who can actually slow things down, children who can take a long-term view of things and suppress their emotions in short term, particularly negative emotions, are actually children who go on to become quite successful in life. They are the ones who actually become leaders. Children who need constant engagement, children who cannot tolerate less amount of stimulation, who need a huge amount of stimulation all the time, and it is someone else's responsibility to give them that stimulation, actually don't go very far in life. So this is something that is very important and important to remember for all of us as parents, because boredom is actually creative. Most of us are taught this again and again, and I don't know where this came from, but it seems to be a central thinking of all the parents that it is their personal responsibility to keep children not only engaged but happily engaged all the time. Now that is not possible unless you are doing drugs. Being in that positive emotional state all the time is not possible, and even those of you who have done drugs in the past know that it doesn't last very long. So let us be more realistic, let us be more organic, let us be more humane and level-headed here. Now this is something that may fall on its face when we are dealing with very young children, typically children who are under 3 or 4 years of age, who need to be around the parents all the time. But even these children, these young children, can be taught to be around but be by themselves. They usually are not happy sitting in one room all by themselves. They need to be around adults, particularly parents. But they can do their own thing, you can do your own thing, and maybe every 5 or 10 minutes they will need some interaction with you, and then again go back to doing what they were. That is something that can really help. So I want you to think about these things before we answer remaining questions. That boredom is good. Way out of boredom is something that children have to find out. It is their responsibility. It's not your responsibility to help them out of boredom every time. Second question is, I think that is absolutely there, and a lot of people would have that on their mind, that we try to control screen time, but because of lockdown, it has completely exploded and gone out of our hands. We need to do work. We are working from home. There are so many responsibilities. We can't engage them all the time. And so they're using screen for a huge amount of time. How do we do of that? Now that is a big monster that has gotten out of the bottle. It is time to put that cap back again quickly and now. Otherwise, in post-lockdown period, this is going to be an absolute nightmare for all of you. So a good way of doing that is if you have children who have their online schools and all the stuff going on, then probably they are engaged in the morning for 2 or 3 hours. They probably have another hour of online tuition and all of that happening with them. Over and above that, they really shouldn't be having more than an hour of screen time for entertainment. For children who don't have anything else like this and they're going to good schools which don't bother them in the vacation, then probably giving them 3 slots of 45 minutes in the day or at the most 1 hour in the day is something that really helps. Leaving them without any internet connection in between is something that we really look for. In that time, children are supposed to do activities at home, help you out, do actual creative work with their hand or play something at home, or maybe just catch a nap or whatever that they want to do, but not be on the internet and using a gadget all the time. And that is what we have to aim for. Remember, one of the most crucial components of preventing a screen addiction is ability to switch it off. So when you give a 45-minute limit, make sure that it is actually switched off in 45 minutes. That is something that is really, really crucial. Helping your child accept this limit, helping your child accept this reality that they actually have to switch off the gadget and walk away from it is really crucial. If we can teach them this ability while they are in a captive state in lockdown with us, we'll be giving them a lifetime of skill that they will thank you for. Okay, so that is what I would like to speak just now. Chirag, do you want me to talk about the 2 extremes of normal curve as well, where we have children with special needs on either side?
Yeah, Doc. Sure, you can go ahead. Also, you can be a little louder, Doc. There's some messages that I'm receiving that the volume is a little louder, please.
Okay,
if you can.
let me be slightly
closer perhaps to the laptop.
Yeah. Is this loud enough?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let us talk about children who were doing something, some special activity. Say it may be academic activity, it may be in the field of arts, performing arts, music, etc., or in sports. And now they are homebound. So you know that out of that academic part and performing art kind of part is pretty much taken care of. In fact, it is actually flourishing in the lockdown because children have got a lot of other time on their hand. Their commuting time is totally saved. So they can actually practice their art for much longer, give it longer time with undisturbed. The real difficulty is with children who have sports interests, who are doing well in sports. And typically, again, there are only limited number of exercises that they can do at home. Some of them require special equipment, or people who, say, for example, play or do swimming or something like that. There is no chance they can do anything at home, and that's a terrible state that they are going to be in. Probably swimming is going to be closed for quite a while, even after this particular lockdown is over. So either they will have to take a long-term look at what they want to do with their hobby or their chosen profession, or talk to the coach and actually get in a graded exercise sequence. A few days ago, there was a video of an Olympic swimmer going on around how she's practicing at home. Now, again, it may not be possible for everybody, but being very focused and focusing on not losing your ability, muscle strength, flexibility, skills is something that you will have to stay focused on. Without that, this is not going to move on. One good option could have been actually using the empty space in your housing societies to exercise. Some societies are now allowing that in the phase 3 of lockdown. Some societies are actually not letting anyone go down at all. My take on that would be, now we are in a lockdown 3 kind of phase, and some societies are allowing that. So you may be able to negotiate that with your managing committee and let professional sportsmen or children who are already playing at district, state, or national level use that space and opportunity to practice, to exercise, because sportsmen are national treasure, and it is our responsibility to facilitate their exercise. So I would definitely urge you to talk to your society committees and get this concession for acclaimed sports people. Children who are at the other end of the spectrum, who have some special needs of looking after, of care. I see a lot of neurodevelopmentally difficult children or children with specific disabilities, and their parents are finding it quite challenging now. that all the therapies have stopped, very little work is going on online, the progress is really slow, and what to do ahead of that. So again, for children who have these difficulties, if they have physical difficulties, it is important to make sure that their muscle tone and the muscle stretching is maintained, whatever physiotherapy they were doing. Even if those exercises are getting a bit boring, it is important to continue those exercises at home, because you don't want to lose the gains that you have made. Children who have had behavior therapy, it is better to talk to the behavior therapist and start doing small tasks at home, in the regular home environment where they can be helped. Children with other special needs, particularly educational special needs,
Doc, I think your microphone has got muted. We can't hear you. You're not audible.
yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, now you're audible.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
So it is important to keep in touch with therapists. If a Skype call or video call is not possible, then at least on an audio call, and maintain the progress in therapy that you have already achieved. It may not be possible to push the therapy ahead, but it is really important not to let the therapy slide backwards. That is the real challenge that we are facing. Okay, so Chirag, I'm happy to take more questions if you have gathered them.
Sure. So I have a question from Chintan Bhatt, where he says, how do we engage them in a creative manner? I'll just compile a few questions, Doc. Some of the answers might be similar for some of them.
Yep.
Rupali says, my daughter is a swimmer and she used to swim for the whole year. In this lockdown period, it's become very difficult for her to utilize her energy. She is doing yoga every day, but still, how do you keep her high energy level?
But I think that is something that we did talk about.
Sports children,
Yeah, sports and creative engagement of children as well.
Yeah.
Sid, I want to talk a little bit more about creative engagement of children. One thing that we know from neuropsychology is actually using your hands and fingers is something that is really important for your brain. Okay, this is a very unique gift that we have in the animal kingdom. No other animal has so much of use of their hands. Okay, mammals at least. And this is directly connected to how your brain grows and how your concentration works and everything. The longer you are working with your hands or doing more intricate work, your ability to concentrate actually improves. So it is really, really important to get children to do a lot of things with their hands. People who are constantly going on about children learning something, put a screen in front of children, put on some videos and expect children to watch those videos and become smart. That is not how it works. You need to do things with your hands. It may be something as simple as cutting vegetables or helping you cook or rolling chapatis, but this actually helps your brain more than anything else. It is difficult to believe, I agree. Most of us are taught that rolling chapatis and cooking at home is something that you do when you can't do anything else academically. It is actually quite the other way around. This actually helps you do better in other areas of life. So letting children actually do craft, a lot of other carvings and things that they have not explored before, that is really important. It will really help these young children.
We have a question from Ashish. He says, most of the children are feeling anxious and stressful due to this lockdown. How can we handle that? Any suggestions for that?
So a lot of anxiety comes out of physical constraining. Children are not able to go out and play. That is an important thing. We have talked about that. So actually helping children do physical activity at home is really, really important. If your children are sitting in front of screens most of the time, probably many of them are overeating at this point of time, you will see huge amount of sugar release. Every time I go to my local supermarket or grocery store, I see young parents piling up their carts with high sugar stuff and a lot of junk. Now, this is going to actually increase their blood sugar to a huge extent. It is going to make them agitated. They need to burn it off. So actually putting your children on a low carbohydrate or no carbohydrate diet while you are staying at home is really crucial. There should be no sugary drinks given to children during a period of physical inactivity. It will actually worsen things for them. It will make them really anxious. So let them go on a zero sugar diet if possible for you.
There is one question from a person. They're saying, what can schools do in this situation?
Well, they have already collected the fees, so I think they have done what they are really good at. The jokes apart, of course, they need money to run their institution, and that's perfectly fine. I am a bit reluctant to ask more of schools, because entire school system is designed to put 20, 30, 40, 50 kids in a locked space, have their captive attention under duress, and then get things done from them. So this is not really something that schools can help us with. See, this is May. Literally everybody is geared to not studying in May. Okay, we have done our summer schools in April already. If the school starts, it will start in June or July. Please let the kids be disconnected from school for at least 1 month every year. So in fact, if your school is doing a lot of activity, you should be requesting them to just shut down. Let the teachers have their downtime as well. They need that downtime. Otherwise, regular working environment is really stressful for teachers. Let them have their month of peace and quiet at home.
Doc, there's a very interesting question. What more can be done for children with special needs apart from maintaining schedules or having some sort of routines? And how do parents be calm while dealing with them?
Again, Chirag, that is exactly what I addressed a few minutes ago, that continuing therapy work is important. Preventing deterioration of sliding down on the progress that you have earned is really important there. Again, you're using this time to hone up their fine motor skills is something that is quite crucial. So you can even do extended therapy hours at home now that you don't have to commute and children are available for longer time. Another thing to do for special children is make sure that they do not develop any sleep debt. They sleep very well. That is really important. So make sure that they get their day-night schedule in place and they are getting at least 8 to 9 hours of sleep every day.
Right. Children love to play sports and be out, and they enjoy meeting their friends most. As part of this, I have been unable to get my son to do enough exercise by just being at home and doing classes over Zoom or WebEx, etc. What's a good way to get them inspired to exercise regularly?
I think this is probably one of the best questions that we have received today, and this is a really important question because how do you get children to do things is one of the most crucial things for most parents. Children do things by imitation. So if you want children to exercise, the entire family needs to have an exercise routine. That is one thing, that all of you get there, it is done as a family activity, like how you do for dinner or watching movie. So everybody has to exercise together. And the second point, and I want you guys to focus on this really, really well because this is important. Children love exercise in a group with their friends, with a single coach. And if you have ever witnessed such a session, you will realize that the coach actually does not give too many instructions. Even if you are doing something slightly not well, coach lets you do that. Coaches don't correct every tiny thing that the child is doing. Unfortunately, most of the parents miss out on that. And I have seen parents and children doing yoga together, and parents, instead of minding their own pose and their own flexibility, are more focused on the child's leg going 5 degrees out and 10 degrees out, and a specific muscle group not working. So this is supposed to be fun time. Let us not convert this into an educational session. So let them have fun with you. Let them do things thoda teda meda it is all right. Their bodies can actually handle that. Don't be in that perpetual Indian anxiety that if my child develops this habit right now, just 1 degree out, this is going to continue. It will put in an Excel sheet of deterioration, and my child will be deteriorated to zero or even negative by the end of this lockdown. This doesn't happen. Life gives you multiple chances, and children are really smart. So let us have fun together, but not convert that exercise session into another shouting match between parents and children.
Doc, the next question is, what is the best way to discipline children under the age of 6 years?
I'm glad you asked that question, because there is one old Sanskrit saying which says Lalayet Panchavarshani Dashavarshani Tadayet Praptetu Shodashe Varshe Putre Mitram Vadachare. Which means that for first 5 years you are supposed to pamper children. After that, for 10 years you are supposed to discipline them. And once the child reaches 15 or 16 years of age, you are supposed to treat them as your friends. Now, anything that is said in Sanskrit, people somehow believe that that is the truth. I also want to tell you that when this couplet was written, probably the average life expectancy was about 24 years. Okay, so things have changed a lot after that. We all go on to live fairly long lives and continue our education into our 20s. So discipline becomes an important part, and we need to have that discipline very early on. So if you are thinking of disciplining a child under 6 years of age, my congratulations to you. You are a very sensible parent. Discipline needs to start as soon as children are born. So typically at this age, the discipline works by praise method. And when they are doing correct things, when they are doing things in the right way, when they are doing desirable behaviors, that is exactly when you praise them. And you specifically praise them for what they are doing right. Don't give a general praise as in, Mera Raja beta, tu to duniya ka sabse acha beta hai. That really doesn't help. What really helps is telling that child, you put that thing away right now as soon as you finish playing, and that is really good. I'm very happy that you did that. That kind of very, very specific praise helps children. So for younger children, positive enforcement of correct behavior is very important. If the bad behavior is going way out of hand, then gently taking the child away from there, distracting them, or saying a very, very clear, sharp no, that is wrong, do not do that. That helps. Again, like what we talked about sports and physical exercise, going into those monologues of long discussions does not help. 6-year-old does not have those cognitive skills, and 15-year-olds, even when they have those cognitive skills, they are not interested in listening to your monologues. So you typically have their attention span to get in 1 or 2 sentences. So whatever instruction you have to give, finish it in 2 sentences. If it takes longer than 2 sentences, then it is a speech, it is not an instruction.
There's one question, Doc, my child is having ADD, his concentration is very less, and how to increase his concentration span. I think they meant ADHD, I think.
Yeah, ADD is also one condition, Chirag, where the physical hyperactivity is not so well pronounced, but the inattention part is really pronounced, and the children can sit at one place, but they are very dreamy, they lost track of time, and they never end up finishing the task that is given to them, though physically they are not very active or disruptive. So ADD is definitely a different case, and it will be difficult to give you a very simple answer without knowing the details of the case. But few things that do help inattentive children or attention deficient children is reducing sugar intake, giving them sharp bits of exercise, of high intensity exercises, or giving them to do something by hand while they are studying. So if the child is supposed to listen to a video or look at a video and listen to something, asking them to actually write notes while they are doing that is something that really helps them. So if you combine their job with some hand activity, note taking, drawing or labeling or something like that, it helps them enhance their attention span.
There's one question where this lady is saying, my son is 3 years old and currently his irritability has increased a lot. He started throwing things and trying to hit others. How do you deal with this behavior?
Yeah, so that's a very common challenge that a lot of parents are seeing, particularly parents of very young children. See, there are definitely a few things of exercise that needs to be put in for these children. Something as simple as making them climb a few flights of stairs is a good exercise for a young child. Even though the steps are really small for adults, For young children, that's a huge gap. It's almost as big as their the size of their leg. So helping them do that actually does get a lot of adrenaline burned there, a lot of exercise there. So getting children to do that, getting them to skip. Now a 3-year-old, you may not believe it, but can actually mock skip. They can do air skipping and they can practice that so that they don't topple over and hurt themselves. You don't want to land up in a hospital in these days. So, air skipping is something that they can do. Again, reducing sugar, reducing chocolate is something that I would absolutely beg you to do because that is really ruining children's mental health.
There is some appreciation also coming in saying that thank you for the answer on how to discipline children. There's one more line of appreciation saying that thank you, Dr. Shukla, your answer was useful. I do correct my child sometimes too much, and just yesterday he told me that you watch me more than I would like you to.
Of course, here we have a little Abraham Lincoln, gunning for his freedom from all sorts of watchfulness, and can't blame him for that. See, I think let's accept this fact that no matter how much we love our family, forcing 24 hours with them and multiply that by 45 is like a stress test for any relationship. Okay, honeymoon is sweet as long as it finishes within a week. If you are given 1 month honeymoon, most marriages will probably end up in divorce court straight away after that. Let's be clear. We love each other, but tolerating somebody for 45 days round the clock is not an easy task, even if they are our children. And let's be reciprocal to that as well. That same with children, they are also getting tired of us. So giving those breaks, not engaging each other, having some me time, quiet time is really important. Let us give children that, and let's give ourselves that as well.
There's one more question from a mother of a 7-year-old. She says, my 7-year-old is very lazy, and if not initiated, then will keep lying down in bed for a long time. If given a laid back time, then he will not do anything on his own. How do you tackle that? He does not have thyroid.
Oh yeah, no, I was not going to ask you to do a blood test. I wouldn't send anybody to hospital or a lab at this point of time unless it is a medical emergency. The description that you are giving for a 7-year-old is pretty much something that my mother will talk about me till I was 16 years old. And after that, my girlfriend and current wife of 25 years will say exactly the same thing. See, there are a lot of us who like to think, who like to be lost in our thought process, and who like the internal world that we create inside. That doesn't necessarily make us lazy. Okay, we are very creative people, as you can see, and Chirag will vouch for that people do grow up and do a lot of other things in life. So somebody who is quietly lying down thinking by himself or herself needs to be given their time, and honestly there is nothing wrong with it, unless two things. One, that they are not doing their regular duties, the chores that are allocated to them at home. And yes, 7-year-olds need to be allocated chores at home. And second, that solitude or that alone time is actually making them more irritable or sad. Okay, if these two things are not there, then a child lying down by himself or herself and thinking, humming, imagining things is perfectly fine. You can even use that time to give them more thinking tasks and let them solve problems in their mind. That is perfectly
okay. There's a question here. How can children be given craft for improving fine motor skills?
So right now you can't go out and buy craft material, but helping children to discover craft material at home is really important. A lot of homes now have huge number of empty glass bottles and plastic bottles. Children can actually do a lot of stuff with that. There are enough YouTube videos about that. There are YouTube videos about origami. There are videos about making beads. There is stuff that children can do. They can bake cake. They can cook. Remember, cooking and preparation for cooking and food decorating is a very, very important fine motor skills. And this is creation that you can eat. So encouraging children to do that really helps. So that is something that you can do at home even now.
Also, is following kind of a strict schedule for eating, playing, little schoolwork, is it necessary or rather advisable?
Children actually thrive on a schedule, and even adults thrive on schedule. So except you're declared weekly off, I think you should be sticking to a schedule if their school and other work is going on online, and even if you are doing your own work. See, it is really important, and this may sound very superficial to all of you, but those who are following this instruction find it very useful. That if you are working from home, and if your work hour starts at 9 o'clock, I actually put on my work clothes and sit there. I do not sit there in a dirty t-shirt and a track pant or a shorts. I want to get in the mood of my work. I want to be that. So even making children change their clothes at certain time of the day, making them sit down and study at their table, giving them toilet breaks, like how they get in school, is all that is important. These are, we have our work clothes for a reason. They put us in a different mood. And that is really important. Like the professional that Chirag is. Chirag is not only well dressed, but he is even carrying that Arista logo on his pocket. Now that is precise professionalism that I would talk about. Be aware of that, and we want to definitely continue that. So do be mindful of the things around you, about the cleanliness around you, of the tidiness of your desk, of the schedule that you follow, of the clothes that you wear, and that really helps.
While father is busy with work and mother is doing her housework in this situation, how can we handle hyperactive children even though we are doing exercise and studying with them?
So all those fathers who claim that they're extremely busy doing work from home, guys, I am as old as you, are probably slightly older at 47. No office work requires you to be totally absent for 8 hours. Okay, office works can always be done in bits and pieces, and whatever free time you have in between, even if those are few minutes, it is better to switch off your computer or switch off your WhatsApp and actually spend time with children. That is a huge help to the mother. You will get benefit of that from her later on in day, night, or life. You will find your partner back again who's loving and caring for you, because you helped her do a very important and difficult chore in the day, which is looking after restless children. So please do not pretend that you are doing 8 hours straight on kind of work where you cannot spare even 1 minute for your own child. Do take those breaks, give those breaks to your spouse as well, and look after your children. It is really important. Even if both parents are working, I am absolutely sure that you can take turns, take a few minutes off in between half an hour or maybe even 1 hour if possible, and look after children turn by turn, particularly if you have very young children.
During this pandemic time, there is a surge of a lot of information and news, at times some which are even catastrophic. How do you break news and information to children which is well comprehended by them and does not raise anxiety or scare them?
Okay, so I'm a practicing doctor. My wife is a intensive care physician, and at present she works at Symbiosis University Hospital in Pune. She's in charge of the ICU for COVID patients, and they have about 200 patients in the ward, and the ICU is full with COVID patients. So that is the level of intensity in which my family is involved in COVID. I do not spend more than 10 minutes of the day reading COVID news. Because all that I need to know is that, are the numbers increasing every day or decreasing? And are there any new restrictions in place for my practice as a doctor? As a layperson, you honestly do not need any more information. The discussions about this Ayurvedic drug, that homeopathic drug, Falana vaccine, Dhimkana antiviral, I can guarantee you, even if you have practiced the name of that antiviral and even if you can spell remdesivir, it is not available in the market. Okay, and unless your doctor's prescription is there, nobody is going to give it to you. So don't waste your time panicking yourself on these things. Let us focus on what we all can do, which is be happy with our families, stay in our homes, keep our bodies fit, and make sure that we don't actually land up in hospitals.
Doc, of course, a lot of appreciation coming for you, saying that thank you for answering my question and giving the right kind of guidance. And thank you, Dr. Shukla, for your suggestions. We will implement them. There's one question where this lady is asking, when we suggest some ideas which are tried and tested, the parents say we have done all this and it does not work. What do you do under such circumstances?
No, Chirag, like I said, that all the queries of children cannot be solved by parents. all the difficulties that people are facing cannot be solved by Dr. Bhushan Shukla on a Zoom session. Life can be more challenging, and there are some questions for which we are not going to find ready-made answers, and we'll have to live through that for another 2 weeks. Let us all sincerely hope that this gets over very quickly and we are able to go back to semblance to our normal life.
There's a question here. Sir, as mentioned earlier, constant parental attention is not advisable. Any tips for parents as to how they can avoid doing that? Since at this point, the only point of focus for parents is their child.
You see, having child as an entire focus of your life is great till child's first birthday. After that, children definitely need incremental time either away from you with other adults or by themselves. That is really good for their emotional health. And it is not good only for children, but it is good even for parents. Because worrying, thinking, watching our children all the time is extremely harmful for our own mental health as well. So do give yourself that time, be assertive about it, tell children that now I'm going to go in my bedroom and I want to do some work by myself. That may be your reading time, your music time, or just lying down with your closed eyes time, or your WhatsApp catching up time, but let children not disturb you in that time. Give them that very clear instruction and be eager to turn them away if they turn up with a non-urgent instruction there. Teaching your children to wait and be by themselves for some time is an important skill that children are going to learn in this lockdown.
There's a question regarding pocket money. What is the right age to give pocket money to children?
So I started giving pocket money to my kid when she was 3 years old. We were in England at that point of time and she used to get £1 every Friday and she could go to the shop and buy whatever she wanted. And we have kept up that tradition. Now she's a 19-year-old college-going student who works on my blog and does my writing assignments and earns money. Or when my receptionist is not there, like since 7th standard, whenever my receptionist was absent, Shweta used to sit there and man the receptionist booth and used to earn money as much as the receptionist earned. So yes, it is good to give them pocket money. That gives them a sense of value. It is really important not to ask them what they do with their pocket money. Give a decent amount and put trust in your children. Let them, if they want to buy a bar of chocolate and eat that, see, it's their pocket money. Let's give them that freedom. If we are going to tell them what to spend that money on, then it is not really pocket money. Okay, so let us give them that responsible freedom. They will make a few mistakes, but that is all right. We all do our mistakes. A lot of people are wondering whether they made a mistake getting married as well. So if we adults can make such big mistakes, I think children are allowed their small transgression every now and then.
Absolutely. Doc, we don't have any more questions, but I can request the audience if there is any last few questions which you would like Dr. Shukla to address, we would take them now. And I have also enabled everybody's videos, which we had sort of restricted for bandwidth issues. So may I request all of you to switch on your videos so we can see how many participants we all had attending the session today.
That looks like a fairly big number. It's showing 57 on my screen.
Yeah, we had about 64. Maybe 1 or 2 people have left just a few minutes ago. It's a decent turnout. It's nice to see everyone, all the screens coming live.
Thank you. I can see a lot of you giving positive feedback to me. And yes, thank you very much for that. Positive feedback works on small children. It works even better on adults. So I'm very happy to receive that positive feedback from you. Thank you. Thanks a lot for that.
So Doc, just before we sign out, I'm also going to share some contact details.
Hello.
Somebody is speaking. Let me just
Hello.
share contact details.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Dr. Anita Ghavri.
Hi.
My son is 10 years old. All the time he wants to watch mobile games or laptop games or cartoon on the television. We are frustrated. Initial part I couldn't attend meeting due to technical problem.
Okay, so this is something that we discussed, and one thing that is for sure advised in this time is 3 times a day, 45 minutes to 1 hour is all that they are going to get. If they want to cross that line, then their screen time will be 0 for the remaining part of the day. So we need to be really, really strict with this. There is no nice way of doing this.
Okay. Thank you
Hi.
very much, sir.
Hi, this is Shweta. I just want to check that, because some of the kids are doing online schooling, so they anyways have good 4 hours of screen time because, their lessons are online.
So yeah, we did talk about that in the beginning, that if they have online schools and classes happening, then probably they should get about 45 minutes of entertainment screen time sometime in the late afternoon or at the end of the day, but nothing more than that.
Sure,
Hi,
thank you.
can I talk?
Yeah, sure.
I just want to know, my son is 7-year-old. What is the correct time to start giving them pocket money?
Well, actually, as young children, as 3 or 4 years old, can actually handle money. So I just as I was saying that I started giving pocket money to my daughter when she was approximately that age, and they handle that money quite well. The thing to remember is that pocket money is to be given to them once a week, because month is way too long for children. So whatever number that you have in your mind, divide it by 4 and give it to them once in a week. Let them spend that money by themselves. To also give them a gullak or a piggy bank in which they can store their money, and let that money be entirely under their control. Having money under your control is really important way to learn about money. If your parents are going to tell you how to spend that money, even your hard-earned pocket money, then it's not interesting anymore.
Oh, but then is it like as against any work that we should be giving them money, or just
I think you can start them by actually just giving them a little bit of change to go and spend by themselves. That should be okay. But every child, no matter how young they are, should have their weekly chores. What they are supposed to do every week, probably 2 or 3 things that they need to do every day. There should be chart on the wall, and you should be signing it off every day. And in exchange of that, they should be getting their pocket money. But let's not be too harsh about it.
but it's okay to give them get them used to it, that they have to work and then we will be giving them money. So
Absolutely, that's reality of life. Nobody gets money without work, unless you are born with a golden and diamond spoon.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
thanks about that.
Doc, I'm just going to display some contact details for the audience.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chirag.
Pleasure. Can you all see the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, so these are some of the programs we are running at Arista during the lockdown period. That's the website address for Arista. It's aristaindia.com. It's spelled with a double R. You can visit our website for different programs that we run, and contact details at the bottom. Just give you a few seconds to note it down if you would like to. And we also have a Facebook page called Arista School of Finance. And this is, of course, Dr. Bhushan Shukla's contact details there. You can see his mobile number and his email address at the bottom of the screen. So please note it down. If you wish to consult him, he has his clinic in Pune, and you can contact him directly on this number for consultation. Right, everyone. I hope it was an insightful session. Thank you very much for attending.
Chirag, thank you very much for this opportunity. Thanks a lot all the participants for your questions, your attention, and your enthusiasm. This is great learning for me as well. Wish you all of you a good health. Let us meet at the other end of this lockdown tunnel.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So for all of you who are running your home businesses or have friends who are running businesses from home or their own, trying to establish their new brands, our next webinar, which is day after tomorrow on the 7th, the same time 5:30 to 6:30, is on how you can improve your social media marketing and digital marketing. Some excellent tips from a renowned speaker on that. What are the things you can do? So the details for that will be circulated shortly. It's again on 7th of May at 5:30. It's on social media marketing. Thank you once again. All the best and good evening.